What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Zamboni. I am a musician and astrologer, and it is time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. As always, I thank you so very much for being here. Thank you for rocking with me another day, another week, another year even. Last week was my birthday. Thank you so much to everybody who showed out with a tip or some nice messages or whatever you had for me. That was super lovely to see. I appreciate. We've been building up this community for like 7 years now or something like this, and it's cool to see that there are people out here who like give a shit about me like this. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here with me. If you would like a reading like this one or a dialogue or something like this, you can go to zambonifong.com. That is available there. There are the 10-minute reading is really the move. It's not only is it cheap, but it is also it's like pretty insightful and directed to a specific question, and I do love a like specific question. That's like really where I thrive. So check that out, zambonifong.com. There's a bunch of cool shit there. Let's talk about the astrology of the week ahead. So this week, well, first things first, I suppose. Welcome to the future. This is it. We finally see Pluto moving into Aquarius, and this one is for keepsies. This is the last time we're gonna see Pluto moving out of Capricorn for like 250 years or something like that. So this is a big one. I feel like I should maybe like record a longer form thing about what I think about Pluto and Aquarius in general, but one of the things that I think is really interesting about this one in particular, like this move into Aquarius, is that it is so aggressive. It's like, so Pluto is moving into Aquarius, and right at the same moment that Pluto is moving into Aquarius, then we've got the moon moving through the very beginning of Leo and opposing Pluto in Aquarius and immediately conjoining Mars there in Leo. So we get Pluto opposite Mars immediately. First things first over here with that. So like that is, we've already sort of been introduced to Pluto and Aquarius. We've seen some toe dips. We've seen some like hanging out in Aquarius and then pull back out and then hang out a little more and then like, right. So this is not an introduction exactly, but it is pretty, it's the very beginning of like, all right, this is actually what we're doing. When we're thinking about Pluto and Aquarius, we're thinking about, welcome to the future is what I said about that, right? Some of it is like kind of dystopian cyberpunk sort of stuff, you know what I mean? Like the idea of smart printers and stuff like that. And like the word smart, what does smart even mean these days? Like, because you know what that is. You've dealt with a printer who won't print the thing, or devices that won't connect to each other and all this kind of thing, right? And that's like at the very best. That's the best kind of situation, right? Not even like mentioning drone warfare and all the rest of the prospects of the future that we have here, right? Cyborgs and transhumanism and all the rest of that, right? So like there's all that kind of stuff, thinking about the Pluto and Aquarius stuff. Pluto is going to be like power dynamics, right? Like the way that power functions wants to shift in a major kind of way. And this looks like a pretty aggressive time for that kind of thing, like it looks like, if we're going to make some power moves, if some power moves are going to get made in the world, on the geopolitical scale, then I would guess that Mars retrograde, this Mars opposite Pluto, and then, we're going to see the backward motion. We're going to see another opposition to Pluto between Mars and Pluto, from Mars directly, not just the moon carrying the light, right? We're going to see a retrograde opposition and then a forward direct opposition a second time, that'll be the third time. So there's still a bunch of this to go, is what I'm saying here, right? So like big aggressive Mars stuff wants to go on with this Pluto and Aquarius immediately. So I would guess that like, if we've been playing chess, then we've been sort of setting things up, right, for a little bit, like setting things in a way, like getting the squad together so that there can be a tactical offensive in the coming months here. And so I would expect, especially as far as the information landscape is concerned, ever since the election, then people cannot stop talking, just fucking chatting and talking so much about like, other people's opinions and their own opinions and how dumb the other side is and all the rest of that, right? Like, and sort of like talking about like, I think the most useful insight that we can sort of derive from that is the idea of like siloed information, right? And as we like get into more and more siloed information sectors, then it ratchets up the aggression that we have for other people's information spaces. And so that looks like it wants to be a major situation here. I don't know, for the next 20 years or something like that, but at least for the next few months while we've got Mars moving back and forth in Leo and Cancer opposite to that Pluto, right? So we get the very first, it's not the very first, but like we get some of the beginnings of that this week as Pluto moves into Aquarius. The good news here is that, so we've got Venus in Capricorn, right? I like Venus in Capricorn. I like this placement a lot. I actually like both the benefics in Capricorn. I think Capricorn is a good place for benefics to get their shit done. Sometimes benefics, you know, benefic sounds like it's really good, right? And I'm not the arbiter of good and evil. Phew. Thank God I'm not the arbiter of good and evil. But so I'm not really in a position to say which things are good and which things are bad. Benefic typically refers to things that are more comfortable or more pleasing, and malefic, like Saturn and Mars, those tend to be more uncomfortable or displeasing in some kind of way, right? So Venus and Jupiter, they tend to bring things that feel good, right? And I like things that feel good, but sometimes things that feel good can become excessive or something like this, right? We live in a culture of great excess, especially when it comes to comfort and flavor saturation and all the rest of that, right? Like there can be too much of a good thing, right? In Capricorn, that's not so much an issue. Capricorn is kind of sparse by its nature. It's very sort of bounded in the way that it operates. It likes a good parameter, right? And so I like Venus in Capricorn a lot, especially to see Venus in Capricorn making a sextile to the ruler of Capricorn, that's Saturn in Pisces. And we got a nice little bit of like kind of mutual reception going on here. Venus doesn't rule Pisces, but Venus is exalted there. Venus is very comfortable in that space and can help Saturn out. So this looks like a very good week for doing the Saturn things, especially in a Venus kind of way. So if we're thinking about Saturn things, we're going to be thinking about boundaries and discipline and maturity and doing hard stuff and saying no and negation and all of this kind of stuff, right? One of my favorite metaphors for boundaries was given to me by Cameron Allen on one of the forecasts that we did year and a half ago now or something like that, where he mentioned that strong, healthy, appropriate boundaries often look like tunnels, right? So it's not about being a barrier, stopping stuff from happening. It's about like, if you've got walls that are appropriate, then it'll keep all the rest of the stuff out. But really what you're doing here is you're facilitating connection or communication in between here and there. That's what a tunnel functions to do, right? And so Venus is relational by nature. That's what Venus wants to do. Venus wants to put people together or put things together. There's something like cohesive or adhesive to the way that Venus likes to operate. There's always this sense of like, how are we going to be in relationship to one another? Sometimes in order to do your relationship well, you need to double down on your boundaries and your parameters in whatever way that is. So maybe that's going to be a relationship, like romantic relationship, right? And so maybe you're in a situationship where you're like, what are we exactly? Or maybe it's a business kind of situation where you can draw up your contract and be like, okay, because I have this thing to offer to you that is useful, you have this thing to offer that is useful to me, we can work together because of that kind of thing. Cooperation is now possible because of that. So drawing up these kinds of parameters makes a lot of good sense this week, especially since we can also see that Saturn in Pisces is actually ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is in Gemini. So like making a square to this Saturn, and they're headed toward one another. Jupiter is retrograde, Saturn is direct, and so that is operational here. So working out, communicating about, and working out your parameters, your terms and conditions, and the ways that we expect to operate together seems to work really well this week. And so that seems really helpful to me.